Hello, my name is Victoria Mickle, and I'll be discussing effective practices in assessment research for 9th grade language and literature. One method of an effective practice for assessment is differentiation through choice boards. Choice boards allow for students to have autonomy over their method of assessment. This addresses the best practice of differentiation in two ways. First, it allows for instructional setting differentiation by providing support in 4 key areas: content, process, product, and the learning environment. Second, it empowers the student and encourages them to reflect on their strengths and personal interests. Ultimately, this method of assessment will yield the most engagement because students are given choice, and there is a myriad of assignments from which they can choose that showcase their talents and personal strengths. One of the best hidden benefits of this method of assessment is that based on the unit, educators can include real-world application, which is a staple in standards making sure that our youth are college and career ready. According to Sharon Docker and Julie Costa and Theo Harris in their article, Differentiation Through Choice, by definition, differentiation recognizes that students' readiness levels, interests, and motivations differ, even within the same grade level. It creates a classroom community in which all students develop a sense of belonging and acceptance. At the same time, it improves students' motivation and involvement. Students incorporate their interests with the teacher's goal of meeting the standards via the curriculum. This method of assessment is beneficial to all stakeholders. Teachers get authentic assessment, and students get to have autonomy in their assessment choice. In the end, grades will be higher due to the amount of engagement and creativity involved. For example, in an exercise called Think-Tac-Toe, students are expected to choose 3 of the options available to show what they know regarding a unit or a topic that is covered in the classroom. You'll see that they cover different modalities: logical and mathematical, verbal linguistic, bodily and kinesthetic, visual and spatial, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic, and musical. This makes the student have to choose 3 things that they are interested in to show the teacher that they have mastered the material. Although not a traditional assessment, one can gauge someone's proficiency based off of them creating or performing these tasks in the Think-Tac-Toe. Which then brings us to, how do we grade an assignment such as a choice board or a Think-Tac-Toe? Rubrics. Rubrics serve many great purposes in grading student work that require the submission of a project, paper, or completion of a presentation. Oftentimes, educators provide students with a project, outline, and/or a checklist that contains the required elements of the assessment. Naturally, students are going to perform at different levels within those requirements, so it is within best practice to award students partial credit for their effort and inclusion of some of the elements of the assessment. One reason that educators neglect to use this method of assessing student work is because it is time-consuming, and it does require meticulous attention to detail. Although this may be true, the disadvantages of using rubrics pale in comparison to the benefits that educators can gain from this effective practice. Kenneth Wolf and Ellen Stevens list 6 benefits of rubrics in their article, The Role of Rubrics in Advancing and Assessing Student Learning. They assert that rubrics make the learning target more clear. Rubrics guide instructional design and delivery. Rubrics make the assessment process more accurate and fair. Rubrics provide students with a tool for self-assessment and peer feedback. And rubrics have the potential to advance the learning of students of color, first-generation students, and those from non-traditional settings. Here is an example of a rubric that is used at a high school in Gwinnett County. You'll notice that students are awarded points from 1 to 5 based on the level of performance that they show in their writing. Level 1, you'll see that there are many things that say incorrect or no analysis present or too brief for evaluation. This basically covers the paper that does not meet any of the requirements. But still, if students do attempt to write something, it does acknowledge that although they are not at the level that we would hope for, that they can still earn points and then see and track their progress in writing throughout the year. Technology using Nearpod is another effective practice. Nearpod activities are proven to support effective practices in assessment due to the timing of feedback that can be provided to students. When using technology, we are employing 21st century practices that speak to the primary source of communication and interaction for not only our youth, but our adults as well. Using technology, and specifically Nearpod, increases collaboration, engagement, and real-time feedback, which is crucial for the time constraints teachers face in preparing students for high-stakes tests, soft skills, and authentic learning. You'll see that on this slide, there is a standard listed for Gwinnett County Public Schools. In AKS 34, it asks that students be able to make strategic use of digital media, examples textual, graphical, audiovisual, and interactive elements in presentations to enhance understandings of findings, reasonings, and evidence to add to interest. Our standards are now moving toward using technology. And if our standards are moving in that direction, it just seems like it makes sense that we would then incorporate systems within our classroom that use that same technology in order to help them progress and make more success toward becoming distinguished in language arts. As Dr. Kevin Costley writes in his article, The Positive Effects of Technology on Teaching and Student Learning, technology has a positive impact on student learning. Technology causes students to be more engaged, thus students often retain more information. Now, with the onset of the Common Core standards and their emphasis on technology, the use of technology will become an even bigger priority in schools. Here's an example of a Nearpod slide that was used in a classroom. This is an open-ended item that was included based off of a poem that students had to read. They were asked to look at the figurative language used and then make connections to draw a conclusion about what the author was trying to say. The wonderful part about Nearpod, through using this type of technology, is that you are able to gain real-time feedback and give feedback within the classroom. You can make all answers anonymous, so when you are going through the items or through the answers, students can then see how their peers are performing and gain great knowledge in what they should and shouldn't do when trying to gain maximum points for either just a test or just a formative assessment in the classroom. This is one of my favorite things to do with my classes. I do find that they are really excited about seeing other people's work, and they're excited about seeing their work on the screen and getting feedback immediately. This has been a presentation on effective practices in assessment research for 9th grade language and literature. Again, I'm Victoria Mickle, and I hope that you enjoyed my presentation.